All right, Brad, how many coats of poly do you think you got on this project here?
6.
6, okay. So do you guys know how many coats of poly is that in reality? Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember how I make the polyurethane?
Right. You dilute it with the water.
Okay, so I dilute it, and Brad said with water. Well, I don't dilute it with water. What I do is I dilute it, or what they really call is cutting it. I cut it with either a lacquer thinner or a mineral spirits or a paint thinner. All right, I cut it at 50%, so that means that it's 50% poly, 50% thinner. That way it goes on nice and easy. That's why we can wipe it on. And the thinner comes out, leaving behind just that little bit of polyurethane. Now, if I mix it at 50%, each coat is actually only how much of a coat?
Half.
Half of a coat. So if Brad has 6 coats of poly on right now, he has 6 half coats, which equals 3 full coats. So Brad has on 3 full coats, 6 half coats. I think it looks really nice. Now, Brad, what do you do in between coats of polyurethane?
I rub it with the steel wool.
Yeah, okay, so you wipe it down with steel wool. And who remembers, what is that steel wool actually doing? It does 2 things. Who can tell me what it does? Could be one thing if you want. Anybody know?
It helps get like the dust off of it.
Definitely takes that dusty sandpapery type feeling off. And what's the other thing that does? Who remembers? Anybody remember? It leaves scratches in the polyurethane that you really can't see. You can see a little bit like a cloudy or a haziness to it, but it leaves scratches in the polyurethane that that the next coat of polyurethane can kind of grab onto. So it's kind of like this, you know what I mean? Except really, really small. Gives it a little spot to go in. So what we're going to do is we're going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and we're going to use the steel wool to put our paste wax on. So it's going to do both things. Now you are going to put paste wax the whole thing. You don't necessarily need to do the back, but if you do the back, that's no big deal. A lot of people just do it so you get the whole thing. So we're going to put this steel wool on with the paste wax. We're going to go over it really good. You know, don't be afraid to press a little bit hard, not crazy hard, you know, where you're really leaning into it, but don't be afraid to put a little bit of elbow grease in it. And do you remember what the important step that we're going to do after you put the paste wax on, what that step is? Who knows? Cooper?
Let it sit for a couple minutes.
Yeah. So we're going to let it sit. I'd like to let it sit for about 15 minutes. And just like the poly, all right, the paste wax has a thinning agent in it. It might be turpentine, it might be lacquer thinner, it's something like that. And just like the polyurethane, that turpentine is going to evaporate into the air, all right, and just leave behind that dryish type of a wax, kind of like a candle wax type feeling. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to buff that out. So Brad, why don't you go ahead and load up a piece of that steel wool right there, and you can start putting that paste wax on. When we put it on, is it going to look real cloudy and opaque looking? I think, yeah, it's not going to be shiny at all. However, once we start buffing it out, okay, we will be able to bring that shine back. Looking pretty good. Yeah. Can you feel that sandpapery type feeling too as you go over it? That's a steel wool. Steel wool's helping take that out. Don't be afraid. Make sure you get the whole 9 yards. Remember, with the paste wax, a lot of times you can kind of look at it like with the sun glare, and you can see any spot that you might have missed. Obviously, if there's not paste wax on a certain part of the project, you know, it's not going to be able to be buffed out in that spot. And this is probably one of my favorite steps of the project. What does it feel like after you buff it out? It feels nice. Okay, that's a good way of putting it. Does it almost feel like a sheet of glass? Like super smooth? Yeah, it feels almost exactly like that. And what we're doing is we're just buffing out that poly. And poly, by definition, all right, polyurethane, is a liquid plastic, and it does harden. It happens to add a little bit of shine. I think we use the semi-gloss for this. What's nice about the semi-gloss is it's not really dull, and it's not super shiny where it's like, whoa. Just somewhere in between, somewhere in the middle. So listen, we're not going to videotape the entire thing of Brad doing this, but we are going to let Brad go over it. It's probably going to take him a solid 5 minutes to put it on, and it looks like probably around, let's see, it's 5 after right now, so probably around 25 after. What we'll do is we'll cut into this video here again, and we'll get him to start buffing it out. And it's probably going to take him a solid 10 minutes to buff it out. So we'll after he gets started buffing, we'll probably touch base with him in a few minutes. So, all right, Brad, go ahead and keep putting it on. Kevin, it's been like 15, 20 minutes, right?
Yep.
So start at the top here, and you're just going to buff it really good, right with the grain. Go ahead and you can press pretty decently hard with that. It's going to take a little bit of time. Like I said, it's probably going to take you a solid 5, maybe 10 minutes to get it. And periodically, you can fold the paper towel over to a new section.
Okay.
Let you try it here for a minute. Put a little bit of elbow grease into it. Press a little bit harder. You'll notice as you keep buffing that out, it'll start getting easier, like almost slide right along it. This step here is the not so fun step, the buffing out of it. It takes a lot of elbow grease. Alright, so let's see again, radder. We can still got a little bit of cage wax on it. Unit press. Decently hard to go down through here. We don't want to break the process either. So periodically go to a section of the rag. Pretty good right there. We'll kind of look at it in the sun, kind of like in the sun glare too. I kind of take my head and look all over it. It looks pretty good. We're gonna start to get there. Starting to get a little bit of squeak. I'm still leaving some finger marks, which means I don't quite have it buffed out. So listen, Brad, I'm gonna let you buff that out for about another 5 minutes or so here. We'll wind up cutting back into the video once you got it all the way, and we'll give it a once over and should be in pretty good shape. So we'll cut back in here in a minute. All right, so you think you got it all the way buffed out, right? Yep. So it's pretty darn close. Sometimes what I like to do is, not only do I give it a look over and a feel over, but I go through some of the areas that I think I might commonly miss. And a lot of those are gonna be like underneath here and over here. So you see right here where my finger is? You see how I leave that little smudge right there? So there's a little bit of wax that we're getting up here. Listen, see that? That's good. Got this real nice. This real nice. That's good. But over here, it's still slippery. So we're gonna focus on those few little areas. The big ticket areas that you already got, like this up here, feels really good. Same thing, I feel squeaky. Feels good. Give it a once over, and this thing's in really nice shape. When you go to mount this at home, you could go to any hardware store, and then right here and right here, these are 16 inches apart. So inside the studs at home behind your drywall, you could use like a little stud finder. I think they're less than $10. You might even have one where you could knock on the wall, hollow, solid. All right, and then 16 inches over should be another one. If you want to use like a fancy screw, you get a little small pack of screws. A lot of times people use like the gold colored ones or the bronze colored ones. And I would recommend we got to go through 3/4 of an inch here and 1/2 of an inch of drywall, so that's 1 1/4 inch. So we probably realistically want like a 2.5 inch screw to really suck it into that stud a little bit. and you can just do a small free drill at home with a small drill bit, and you can screw it right in by hand. So we're going to finish this last little bit up. But other than that, I think it looks really spectacular. It's a pretty nice job. I think a nice gift to take home too. So pick that up. You'll be in good shape. Nice job, bud.